Here I go. Rock you like a hurricane. Here I go. Rock you like a hurricane.
Sidney Poitier.
Sidney Poitier.
Up to the stage.
Done. Okay. Phil Brown, Oprah speech, uno mas, por favor. And let's see here. Oh. Okay. Let us please hope. Load damn ya. What did you load it up as? A wave? Okay. Oh, wow. That's not real. That is not real. That is not real. That was not real. Real. How you feel? How you feel? How you feel? How you feel? Okay. All right, here we go. Let's try this again. Please sound good. All right.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay. Thank you, Reese. In 1964, I was a little girl sitting on... Okay. Thank you, Reese. In 1964, I was a little girl sitting...
All right. You hunk a bag, a bucket, a boo. This is interesting.
I was a little girl. Okay.
Oh, yeah, maybe I should connect. Jeez, I forgot all about it. Sorry, man. Yeah, that was dumb. That was dumb. That was dumb. There we go. Yeah, that's not smart. Yeah. That make you feel better? Mikey?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Does that make you feel a little better?
Yeah, I was getting a little worried about that.
Yeah, I had forgotten all about that. Yeah. Yeah. I was sitting here I was just playing along, just doing my thing. Life is good.
All right, we're glad you're there. We got about a minute 15, man.
Yeah. I get this cute little thing. So, you gonna hook up or what? What are you gonna do, dude? I mean, don't get me wrong, but I'm thinking might want to do a broadcast. Well, well. So how's everything going, my friend?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Things getting better up there?
Yeah, seems like it.
Good. Hang on a second here. Tell me how this sounds to you.
Okay. Thank you, Reese.
Okay. That sound okay?
Yeah.
Hot diggity doo, as opposed to warm diggity doo.
All right, I got the audio clips now.
Yeah, we'll probably not need any of the Oprah ones because I got the speech raw.
Okay. Well,
And I'm going to, okay, I'm ready when you are.
5 seconds.
Okay, I'm going to go. Coast to coast, north to south, this is the Wells Report. Hi, I'm John David Wells. Welcome. Hope you had a great weekend. I had a great weekend. We all had a great weekend. The only thing that marred the weekend was, of course, the Golden Globe Awards, which was basically an exercise in network television male bashing and so on and so on. But there was kind of an interesting little highlight. And I guess it's more than just an interesting little highlight. What happened is that Oprah Winfrey showed up and I don't know, everybody in the mainstream media decided that Oprah Winfrey needs to run for president. How did she do that? Well, it started like this.
In 1964, I was a little girl sitting on the linoleum floor of my mother's house in Milwaukee, watching Anne Bancroft present the Oscar for Best Actor at the 36th Academy Awards. She opened the envelope and said 5 words that literally made history. The winner is Sidney Poitier. Up to the stage came the most elegant man I had ever seen. I remember his tie was white and of course his skin was black, and I'd never seen a black man being celebrated like that. And I have tried many, many, many times to explain what a moment like that means to a little girl, a kid watching from the cheap seats as my mom came through the door, bone tired from cleaning other people's houses. But all I can do is quote and say that the explanation in Sidney's performance in Lilies of the Field, amen, 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 amen. In 1982, Sidney received the Cecil B. DeMille Award right here at the Golden Globes, and it is not lost on me that at this moment, there are some little girls watching as I become the first Black woman to be given the same award. It is an honor. It is an honor, and it is a privilege to share the evening with all of them, and also with the incredible men and women who've inspired me, who've challenged me, who've sustained me and made my journey to this stage possible. Dennis Swanson, who took a chance on me for AM Chicago. Quincy Jones, who saw me on that show and said to Steven Spielberg, yes, she is Sophia in The Color Purple. Gail, who's been the definition of what a friend is, and Stedman, who's been my rock, just a few to name. I'd like to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, because we all know that the press is under siege these days. But we also know that it is the insatiable dedication to uncovering the absolute truth that keeps us from turning a blind eye to corruption and to injustice, to tyrants and victims and secrets and lies. I want to say that I value the press more than ever before as we try to navigate these complicated times, which brings me to this. What I know for sure is that speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have. And I'm especially proud and inspired by all the women who have felt strong enough and empowered enough to speak up and share their personal stories. Each of us in this room are celebrated because of the stories that we tell. And this year, we became the story. But it's not just a story affecting the entertainment industry. It's one that transcends any culture, geography, race, religion, politics, or workplace. So I want tonight to express gratitude to all the women who have endured years of abuse and assault because they, like my mother, had children to feed and bills to pay and dreams to pursue.
Okay, so far, so good. So far, so good. Everything goes along just fine as she has continued her, talking about this. And I like the speech so far.
It is an honor. It is an honor. And it is a privilege to share the evening with all of them and also with the incredible men and women.
Hang on a second here. Now we're doing something different technically, so this may or may not be as good as it could be. But I just want to make sure because we'll just keep listening.
Who've inspired me, who've challenged me, who've sustained me and made my journey to this stage possible. Dennis Swanson, who took a chance on me for AM Chicago.
Yeah, that's something that we had heard before. Sorry about that. We're doing something different here, and it's and so please bear with us.
They're the women whose names we'll never know. They are domestic workers and farm workers. They are working in factories and they work in restaurants and they're in academia and engineering and medicine and science. They're part of the world of tech and politics and business. There are athletes in the Olympics and there are soldiers in the military. And there's someone else, Reese Taylor. A name I know and I think you should know too. In 1944, Reese Taylor was a young wife and a mother. She was just walking home from a church service she'd attended in Abbeville, Alabama, when she was abducted by 6 armed white men, raped and left blindfolded by the side of the road, coming home from church. They threatened to kill her if she ever told anyone. But her story was reported to the NAACP, where a young worker by the name of Rosa Parks became the lead investigator on her case.
Okay, so the only thing I can say on this is that I understand that this is an entire evening devoted to women who are justifiably complaining about sexual harassment and so on and so forth. My only concern about this is that it turns into a liberal, shall we say, philosophy fest, where suddenly now we're invoking Rosa Parks and racism and horrifying crimes of the past. All right, let's try not to conflate all this stuff together. Can we do that, please?
And together they sought justice. But justice wasn't an option in the era of Jim Crow. The men who tried to destroy her were never persecuted. Reese Taylor died 10 days ago, just shy of her 98th birthday. She lived, as we all have lived, too many years in a culture broken by brutally powerful men. For too long, women have not been heard or believed if they dared to speak their truth to the power of those men. But their time is up.
Which, by the way, hashtag time is up.
Their time is up.
Is part of this entire speech.
Their time is up. And I just hope that Reese Taylor died knowing that her truth, like the truth of so many other women who were tormented in those years, and even now tormented, goes marching on. It was somewhere in Rosa Parks' heart almost 11 years later when she made the decision to stay seated on that bus in Montgomery. And it's here with every woman who chooses to say, me too. And every man who chooses to listen. In my career, what I've always tried my best to do, whether on television or through film, is to say something about how men and women really behave, to say how we experience shame, how we love and how we rage, how we fail, how we retreat, persevere, and how we overcome. I've interviewed and portrayed people who withstood some of the ugliest things life can throw at you. But the one quality all of them seem to share is an ability to maintain hope for a brighter morning, even during our darkest nights. So I want all the girls watching here and now to know that a new day is on the horizon. And when that new day finally dawns, it will be because of a lot of magnificent women, many of whom are right here in this room tonight, and some pretty phenomenal men fighting hard to make sure that they become the leaders who take us to the time when nobody ever has to say, me too, again. Thank you.
All right. So there you go. All right. So remember, there are a few things that you've got to bring up here. There are a few things that you have to say, okay, that's all well and good. And I appreciate that speech. And if it launches Oprah Winfrey's presidential run, great. Because frankly, I don't think the Democrat Party has anybody anywhere close to as competitive as Oprah Winfrey. More about that later. But what I will say is this. There is a specter hanging over this entire event. There are several, but the most important one, the one that is clearly at the very top of all of this, is a man named Bill Clinton and an enabler named Hillary. Not just an enabler, but an assassin. The creator of and purveyor of and head wrangler of the Bimbo Eruption Squad. There are other issues. All of the women except for one wore black. Fine. Good show of solidarity. Liked it. Ashley Judd wore a black dress where most of her breasts were hanging out. That defeats the purpose, Ashley. That is not what you were supposed to do last night. And am I saying that a woman shouldn't be able to walk around with her breasts half exposed in a context of sexual harassment? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. Why in heaven's name would you do that? Isn't this the kind of place where you wear your best Sunday go to funeral dress? Now, you'll notice that it's hard to find Ashley Judd in any of the pictures. So they knew what was going on. The only person that didn't was Ashley Judd. Insofar as the fact that she's not necessarily the, shall we say, rocket scientist of the bunch. She is still a brilliant actress, as long as somebody else are providing words and directions on how to move. More in a moment. You like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially that last part right there.
Thank you.
That was very, very good.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, man. We got about three minutes or so.
That's good. Okay. Hello. Hello. Thank you. Yes, sir.
We got 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
1:45.
1:45. So things are finally coming together here at the old radio ranch.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, we're kind of happy. It's actually getting there finally.
Yeah.
Really happy.
Good.
Yep. USA Mike Hawkins, you gonna connect soon. Very, very funny.
Well, it was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
All right, we got 45 seconds.
45 dang seconds. Everybody get with it now. Phew. James, let's see. How are you listening? Boom, 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 boom.
All right, here we go in 10 seconds.
Why, I'm ready. Eight 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691 gets you through to the Wells Report. What did you think of Oprah Winfrey last night? It's not so much the Golden Globes. I wasn't going to watch the Golden Globes. Don't care. Do not care about the Golden Globes. Do not care about the Golden Globes because I knew it was going to be an anti-male mess of leftist politics that would be garnished with rotten things to say about Donald Trump, when the true villain, when it comes to the entire context of the evening, was Hillary Clinton, insofar as she is the enabler in chief of her husband, Bill, and all of those people in that room, or perhaps 90% of the people in that room, just decided to set all of that aside for the sake of liberal politics. So there's this is the perfect explanation for me. This is the perfect explanation of liberal politics. The perfect explanation. On one hand, you have what is a reasonable, intelligence, even righteous political issue that is stained, if not completely run off the road, by the realities of the politics of the people who are supporting this otherwise reasonable understanding. In other words, if you watch liberal politics long enough, it folds in on itself and cancels itself out. Which means that liberal politics is based on something that is transitory, something that is capricious, something that is equivocal. It is, let's put it this way, it is a living political philosophy. In other words, it blows in the wind. Some of the things you need to know: Seth Meyers managed to get through the entire evening without completely destroying his career. But then again, I've said that before. I said something funny about Harvey Weinstein, who said that in 20 years, Harvey Weinstein would be the only person that's ever booed in the remembrance section of the actual broadcast, which may be. He'll be back in 20 years when he was the first person to be booed in memoriam. He mocked Kevin Spacey, who was replaced by Christopher Plummer in All the Money in the World. They're going to do another season of House of Cards. Is Christopher Plummer available for that? I hope he can do a Southern accent, because Kevin Spacey sure couldn't. It's funny. Let's see. Frances McDormand, who is incredibly funny, is just a funny human being. She was fierce and funny throughout the show, batting away a camera person inviting her fellow nominees for a Best Actress in a drama to the bar for a drink after the show. But in accepting the award for 3 billboards, McDormand was confusingly bleeped for saying Fox Searchlight and Tectonic Shift. Okay. So apparently you can't say Tectonic Shift. Accepting her award for the Best Supporting Actress for I, Tonya, Allison Janney paid tribute to the disgraced figure skater Tonya Harding, thanking her for sharing her story. What this movie is tell a story about class in America, tell a story about the disenfranchised, told a story about a woman who was not embraced for individuality. Yeah, it's because she was a horrific, ill-tempered, horrible sport. She was immediately denounced for turning Harding into a class warrior hero, called the dedication gross, given that Harding was accused of kneecapping her rival, Nancy Kerrigan, in 1994. Please. Twitter started hashtag Oprah 2020. And that, of course, is an idea that maybe the lovely Oprah Winfrey might run for president of the United States. More about that coming up in just a moment. After Oprah's stirring speech, Natalie Portman took to the stage with Ron Howard to present the award for Best Director. Now, this is where Portman said one of the best lines of the night, and she goes, "For Best Director, here are the all-male nominees." Barbara Streisand followed up on that by saying she won the Best Director Golden Globe 34 years ago. And then she hit, "Folks, it's time's up." Yeah, okay. And I would say the same thing about female directors and the Golden Globes and so on, that Denzel Washington said about black actors, complaining that the Oscars were not being handed out properly to enough black actors. Denzel Washington said, "Do better work." There are female directors out there that are brilliant. Brilliant. And yeah, they need to do better work. If they want to win a Golden Globe, do better work. See, that's that meritocracy thing. That's where the people that do the best work get the toys and the big prizes. It's the way it works. It's America, right?
All right, sir.
All right, then.
Sounded good, moving right along.
Yes, indeed. Okie as well as Dokie. Delete the conversation. Random, Logan, what are you redacting? What are you doing? What are you doing? My friend. What else is going on? How many people we got? 8? Okay. All right, cool. Okay. So, James Parker, you cannot hear me now. Is that what you're saying? Didn't mean to. Oh, yeah. Did you see the pictures, Logan? Did you see the photographs? I'm just asking. Let's see here. Let me go back to this. Live. Let's see where we are today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So we're 84th in the country. 84th in the country. We're 84th in the country. 83rd, 82nd, 81st, 80th. Got it. All right. So we're 81st in the country. 81st in the United States right now. What?
I need to be at least number 10.
No,
So
that's
if you
right.
could-
You got to be,
So,
and you got to get
so-
that done sometime before sundown,
so do me
or
a favor. I
we're
need
going to replace you with,
Yeah, I need
with-
you at number 10. So if you could watch that all day. That'd be great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Nothing.
No, this is how we
Nothing.
talk.
This is how we talk to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
it's-
just-
Messing around.
Hey, since 2000.
yes.
Yes, this is our best Sandy impersonation.
yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
My pantsuit.
My
is very
pantsuit.
shady.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
All right,
Polyester.
guys. All right,
All
guys.
right. Let's see.
Oh,
Whatever. Let's see.
What a
Ashley.
buzzkill.
Really? Ashley Judd. Golden Globes. Ashley Judd. Golden Globes. Okay.
All right, here we go in 10.
Okay. You are listening to the Wells Report. 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. Join us. We're talking about the Golden Globes. Going to talk about Oprah Winfrey here in just a couple of seconds. The black gowns weren't just a gimmick. I thought it was a good idea, but Blanca Blanco did not wear one. She wore red, and she was also on display after a fact or degree. Yeah. She showed up in a stunning red dress that normally would have been given 2 thumbs up, but she says this: I love red. Wearing red does not mean I'm against the hashtag Time's Up movement. I applaud and stand by the courageous actresses that continue to break the circle of abuse through their actions and style choice. And then she said something that was very, very good. What she said is that she was not willing to stand up to all of this without making the statement that there's an awful lot of this going on, and that all these people at some point countenanced all the sexual harassment that had been happening or participated in it. And she wanted to make sure she called it Hollywood fakery. And so I think that there's part of that does need indeed to be discussed. It is, to a degree, Hollywood fakery. Let's talk a little bit about Oprah Winfrey now. The speech was not something that lived up, as far as I am concerned. The speech is not something that lives up to the now let's have her run for office hype. Not in any way, shape, or form. That she was standing up and she was speaking on a national level in a national way and doing it well. Good speech. Conflates a bunch of things that I think were inappropriate. Okay. What I think is to equate the story of a little girl raped by armed white men with, granted, what is a terrible, terrible act in itself, which is sexual harassment, sexual assault, to conflate these things, I think, is overstating your case in a bad way. As far as I'm concerned, those men that raped that little girl should have been shot. And I think that everybody in the United States feels that way too, right now. It's ridiculous. It was ridiculous then. But to put all that stuff together, I think oversells what would have been an otherwise well done demonstration. Now let's get busy. What about Oprah Winfrey running for president? Oprah Winfrey is actively thinking about it, she says. One of the sources said the conversations date back several months. The person emphasized that Winfrey had not made up her mind about running. A representative for Winfrey did not immediately respond to her request for comment. The Democrat race for president won't officially begin until after the 2018 midterms, but many potential candidates are already jostling for position and making trips to Iowa. Bernie Sanders is one of those guys, the specter of socialism hanging over the Democrat Party. The absolute antidote to that would be Oprah Winfrey. Because you can't stand up and say that all the money in the world needs to be given to the government of the United States when you are the first black female billionaire. So therefore, politically, the socialist aspect of Oprah Winfrey, I guess, would vanish in a destructive wave of the assessment of credibility. Okay, you don't get to be a socialist unless you're a Democrat, or you don't get to be a Democrat unless you're a socialist. But if Oprah Winfrey is a socialist, I am the lead ballerina. I'm the prima ballerina of the Moscow Ballet, which should be sort of like dressing a rhinoceros in a tutu. Now, I want to make this clear. I was referring to myself as the rhinoceros. Don't get crazy. I want to make this clear. I think Oprah Winfrey running for president is probably the best chance the Democrats have, but I want to ask a few questions. And these are important ones. And I want you to answer me at 844-927-6691. There were a lot of people that voted for Donald Trump because Hillary Clinton was the Democrat presidential candidate. Would you have voted for Oprah Winfrey as the Democrat presidential candidate over Hillary Clinton had she been running? (844-927-6691). Let's go back to the last election. Had Oprah Winfrey been the Democrat candidate? If Oprah Winfrey had been the Democrat candidate, would you have voted for her? Now, this is hard, I realize, because the simple case of the matter is Oprah Winfrey she hasn't declared that she'd be interested. As a matter of fact, 6 times she declared she wouldn't be interested. But if she's going to consider this, we should consider it as well. Because as I said, Oprah Winfrey is clearly the best chance the Democrats have that I see so far in 2020. How about you? Do you agree? Now, I have to understand that there are a lot of people that think that Oprah Winfrey is, shall we say, not qualified or anywhere close to being a presidential candidate. I don't know why. I think that Oprah Winfrey said something that was brilliant a while back when she said, "When I knew better, I did better." For those of us who have made mistakes in our lives, that is the best possible way to explain the progress you make as you live your life. I don't want somebody who is inhuman. I don't want somebody like Mitt Romney, who has never, ever, ever faced the reality of hard life as the president of the United States. I want somebody that's lived a real life. Mitt Romney lived in a christened and anointed political family, surrounded by all the conceivable wealth in the world, and turned himself into a moderate Republican or a Rockefeller Republican, if you will, a big government liberal Republican. He does not represent somebody that's been through the fire. I want somebody that's a lot like me. Oprah Winfrey brought herself from nothing. Well, I'm not going to say nothing. She brought herself up from a lower class or lower middle class upbringing in Milwaukee. Single mom, doing her best, but learning what it was that took her to the billion she now possesses. She earned every dollar. By the way, there are Trump voters. I'm not talking to Trump voters right now. I understand that. I got it. I'm talking to people that voted for Hillary Clinton. Would you have been something? Would you have voted a different way if Oprah Winfrey had been the Democrat nominee? Because there were a lot of people that said, you know what, I don't want to have anything to do with Hillary Clinton. I was one of them. You know, we had just gone through 2 Democrat administrations with President Obama. President Obama did not scare me as the leader of the United States of America. But I assure you, Hillary Clinton being the president of the United States scared the bejesus out of me. So I'm thinking that there might be somebody that said, hey, you know, if we had a reasonable and intelligent Democrat presidential candidate, I may have voted a different way. I think that's a possibility. That's what I think. So do you think that Oprah Winfrey could indeed be the president of the United States? 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. Would she make a good president? Do the Democrats have anybody else? I don't believe the Democrats have anybody else. I don't believe the Democrats have a chance with any of their typical rote politicians. That is what the American people turned away from in 2016. They turned away from politics as usual, and certainly Democrat politics as usual. For that matter, the American right did the same thing. The Tea Party taught the American right that there was an alternative to the Republican Party, one that was sorely needed. And that is another way that Donald Trump became the president of the United States. We set aside politics as usual. Oprah Winfrey continues that. There's a newcomer to the live chat room on YouTube live events where we are streaming this show. Bobby Shane says nobody's going to vote for a feminist, racist woman. I'm not sure that I think that Oprah Winfrey is a racist. I'm not even sure that she is a typical feminist. Maybe you can explain it. Maybe you see something I don't. But I'm interested in hearing what you have to say. 844-927-6691. Joe Biden is not going to be the president of the United States. Bernie Sanders is not going to be the president of the United States. Bill de Blasio is not going to be the president of the United States. None of those people have a chance. So who does? Elizabeth Warren? All she is a shall we say, less attractive version of Bernie Sanders. Okay, I'm kidding. That was a joke. Okay, it was a poor joke. I got it. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. So when I start thinking about all these people, these Democrats that might run or might not run and so on, there really isn't anybody out there. There isn't anybody out there, so why not Oprah Winfrey? Why not? 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. Yes, indeed, Oprah Winfrey's speech made a big splash at the Golden Globe, or the Golden Globes. And yes, there are people in her camp that say that indeed she is without doubt considering running as the president of the United States. Asked in an interview with fellow billionaire David Rubenstein on whether she might be able to break the glass ceiling to be elected president, Winfrey smiled. She said, I never considered the conversation even a possibility. I just thought, the David Rubenstein show, peer-to-peer conversations. She followed up, no, that won't be happening. But I used to think, well, gee, you had to know so much more than I thought you had to know. That is true. That's true. It's clear you don't need government experience to be elected president of the United States, said Rubenstein. Yes, that's what I thought, Winfrey responded. Oh, gee, I don't have experience. I don't know enough. And now I'm thinking, oh, well, wait a minute. She has said, I will never run. Never will I run. She has said that there will be no running for office. But things change. Is this a change we're going to be seeing in 2020? 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. Looking forward to hearing from you. Oprah Winfrey, President of the United States?
All right, man. Sounding good.
There you go. Thank you, brother.
No sweat. You got about 3.5 minutes.
3.5 minutes. We just got Cliven Bundy as guest at 5:35 p.m. today.
Oh, yeah?
I guess that's
Wait, what was it now? 5?
this is coming from Janet.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right, let's see what we got here. Bobby Shane. Let's see here.
All right, we got 1 minute, man.
Hey, JD.
Yes, sir.
Hey, that sheet I'm sending you guys every day, that prep sheet, that's for everybody. Is that helping you at all?
Yes.
Any feedback?
I haven't seen it much, but keep doing it. I mean, it's incredibly worthy and worthwhile, et cetera, et cetera. All of us need to contribute.
Yeah, I mean, it's for news mainly, but it's also for long form for prep. So I've been wanting to do this for over a year now.
Good for you.
Now it's got to get fine tune it. So
right.
All right. Have a good one. I'll talk to you later, pal.
Thanks very much, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
All right, back in 10, man.
Back in Tinman. Tiananmen Square. 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. It is the Wells Report. Join us, won't you? So who exactly is in Iowa trying to schmooze their way into the Democrat presidential nomination? Bernie Sanders, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, Representative Tim Ryan of Ohio, Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota, Representative Seth Moulton from Massachusetts. They are among the Democrats who are visiting the Hawkeye State. Former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley dropped in 4 times. Now, Martin O'Malley is a very good politician. but that's not necessarily the person that that people want to drop into this race. Now, remember, Martin O'Malley, towed the "we're going to get Hillary elected" line. So he did a lot of things to damage his career. Why he did that, I don't know. Maybe he thinks that there's a future in the Clinton political castle somewhere. Locals have been buzzing about a potential appearance by former Vice President Joe Biden, who's expected to come into the state to campaign for Abby Finkenauer. There we go. Former staffer who's running for a seat in the Iowa House of Representatives. And so, Democrat hopefuls headed to Iowa because that's the first in the nation primary. Other top-tier potential candidates like Kamala Harris of California, Kristen Gillibrand of New York, Cory Booker of January. They are expected to start testing the waters at some point. All I can say is that one of these days, we're going to have to stop allowing Iowa to start our political races year after year, presidential candidate after presidential candidate, presidential election year after year after year. We have to stop that. And yes, I have a plan for that too, because the Wells Report's about truth and solutions. It's true. What are the solutions? Glad you asked. The solutions are very, very simple. What you do is you split the country into 4 pieces: Northeast, Southeast, Northwest, Southwest. And then what you do is you run the presidential primaries in 4 Super Tuesdays in each one of those sections of the country. The first time you try it, you run them in the Northeast. Then you go to the Southwest, then the Southeast, then the Northwest. And you just keep going back and forth like that. You start that kind of a presidential campaign or presidential primary season, so that you have 4 Super Tuesday elections, then you have the conventions, then you have the general election. It brings the actual cost of everything down because people can't pay all that money for all those years. It's just too loose and it's just too wide. You can't do that. But at some point, you don't want Iowa picking who the next president is going to be, allowing the state to determine the front runner time and time and time again. Do I hope she runs? Yeah. Do I hope she wins? Get back to me. You're listening to the Wells Report. Back in a moment.
All right, man. We got a good 6.5 minutes here.
All right. Cool deal, man. I'll be right back.
All right, I will too.
Okay.
All right.
All righty then. All right. Let's see here. Okay.
All right, we got 2 minutes, sir.
2 minutes. Okay. I'm confused. Okay, here we go. All right. All right, let's see here. What do I need to do?
Do I need to call a guest later or something?
What? No. At 5:35 today, Cliven Bundy is going to be on. He's going to be on the. Wow, he just dismissed it.
We got 30 seconds.
30 dang seconds. Let's see here.
All right, here we go in 10.
Okay. North to south, coast to coast, this is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. Big news for all of us who watch America's freedoms being eroded step by step, inch by politicians, the judiciary, and so on. News comes from the West today. Less than 1 month after U.S. District Judge Gloria Navarro declared a mistrial in the case against Cliven Bundy, his two sons, and a self-styled militiaman named Ryan Payne. Navarro has dismissed the charges entirely against everyone. The decision puts an end to the federal case against the four men for their role in a 2014 armed standoff over cattle grazing rights in Nevada. This was something that was incredibly disturbing to anybody that's been paying attention. If you go back to Ruby Ridge, if you go back to even the Waco compound in Texas, you can see that there are people that have different ideas about just exactly what freedoms and liberties in the United States happen to be or what they should be. And it's interesting to me that I keep finding, shall we say, hard-bitten American individualists like Cliven Bundy, his two sons, on one side of it, and American functionaries, American government functionaries on the other side. For example, the Bureau of Land Management, for all intents and purposes, is a group of guys with pickup trucks that travel around the wilderness in the United States trying to find people dumping old cars. Why would they have a sniper squad? These were the things that really created problems for all of us. By the way, I want you to know this. The Judge Navarro, after dismissing all the charges against Cliven Bundy, the sons, and everybody involved, also found the prosecution had committed, quote, flagrant misconduct, unquote, by withholding evidence that could have supported the defendant's case. Namely, Navarro explained the federal prosecutors had failed to disclose information from cameras recording video from the standoff and the presence of federal snipers around the Bundy ranch. Now, if these people weren't BLM snipers. Who were they? And if the BLM does have a sniper squad, then somebody needs to explain to me just exactly why they have a sniper squad. Navarro ruled that as a result, the men who had been slapped with felony conspiracy and firearms charges could not receive a fair trial. She dismissed the charges with prejudice, which specifically bars the possibility of bringing a new trial against them. The court finds that the universal sense of justice has been violated, Judge Navarro said. The courtroom drama comes more than 3 years after a tense confrontation unfolded in a different venue, the Nevada desert. Bundy had refused to recognize the government's control over U.S. public land since the 1990s, racking up roughly $1 million in unpaid grazing lease fees and fines. In April of 2014, federal agents demanded Bundy remove his cattle from these public lands, only to be met with a group of Bundy's armed followers, including his sons, Eamon and Ryan, and a man named Ryan Payne. A weeks-long standoff ensued, ending only when the federal government backed down, though the men were arrested nearly 2 years later. Eamon and Ryan Bundy, along with other co-defendants, were acquitted last year on similar but separate charges for their role in the 2016 armed occupation of Oregon's Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. While two of their fellow occupiers were later convicted on federal conspiracy charges, the brothers Bundy had successfully argued they were simply exercising their First and Second Amendment rights during the 41-day standoff. They remained on the hook for charges related to the 2014 Nevada standoff, though prosecutors there experienced several starts and stops of their own, even before a mistrial was declared. The story will be completely told later on today on the USA Radio Network. Wayne Allen Root will have this story at 5:35. I believe that's 5:35 Pacific time. So make sure that that would be, I guess that would be 8:35 Eastern time. We'll harden up those times and get that for you in just a couple of moments. We'll find out exactly when, but Wayne Allen Root will have an interview with Cliven Bundy this afternoon on most of these USA Radio Network stations. Do not miss that interview. Telephone number again is 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. The Wells Report is in progress. We've been talking about Oprah Winfrey running for president. We've been talking about the fact that Democrats and Republicans are flocking to Iowa. I believe that Iowa is the world's worst place to start presidential candidacies, one after another, back through the years, et cetera, et cetera. The primary system in the United States, proven in the 2016 presidential primaries, is irrevocably broken. And it's because that politicians run it. If we, the people of the United States, are the only people that can indeed determine who the president of the United States should be, which is the case, at least according to Thomas Jefferson, then some kind of public commission needs to be responsible for handling the political primary season. There needs to be 4 Super Tuesdays. And here's the timing. You have Election Day, November of 2018 or 2020. You back up 60 days. Those are the 60 days before the actual election. Those are your conventions. And then the primary system is 60 days before the conventions, and then 30 days, 30 days, 30 days, 30 days, going back to 4 separate regions of the country, which rotate every presidential cycle. You start out with the Northeast. Then you start out with the Southeast. Then you start out with the Southwest, and then the Northwest. And that way everybody gets involved in who the actual presidential contenders are. There are only 4 presidential primaries, 4 Super Tuesdays. That's what I believe would be a brilliant idea for our primaries. There are other people that have different ideas. One of them is Rick. Rick in Dallas, thanks very much for joining us. Welcome to the Wells Report. Good to have you here.
Hey, JD. I like the idea of having multiple primaries, but minimum, cutting it down to 4. The problem is we need to do it not by region, like the Northeast, Southeast, my opinion. I think what you need to do is you need to take the states with the smallest amount of impact. Iowa, Idaho, the small states whose impact is the least. Let them weigh in. Then you go to the second group that's got a little bit more of an impact. So you divide the 50 states up, into 4 groups by the amount of impact. Then by the time the 4th one comes around, Texas, California, New York, Florida, all the big states are still in play, and everybody still has a say in the election. We didn't have a say in the last election because it was done before it got to us.
You're talking about the primary. Are you?
Do it.
You're talking about Texas.
Yeah,
you're talking about the primary season was functionally over before it got to Texas.
Yeah, and if we give the little states a chance, but we put them in one group, we don't let a state like Iowa jump out and everybody concentrates on Iowa.
I mean, here's my situation. They're fine people in Iowa, but they should not get to choose who our presidential candidates are. Off the very beginning of every presidential election year. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's bad for all of us. So
Iowa, all of them together.
Well, I tell you what, thanks very much. I appreciate all that. The only thing that I can say about having the smaller states weigh in first is that it seems to me the geographical makes more sense insofar as you for me, I want as close to a national referendum as possible on each one of those 4 primaries. You leave the electoral vote alone. But because it turns into this ridiculously stupid political exercise, I'm talking about the primary election season, it just becomes a mess. Let's talk a little bit about something else that's a mess, and that is leftist politics. Leftist politics are very interesting insofar as there are people on the left that are saying remarkably crazy things. I mean, crazy things. There is a math education professor at a Brooklyn college contending that meritocracy is a tool of whiteness. The people of the United States in a free market society, in a capitalist context, live in a meritocracy. The best rises to the top. And that is indeed the way it ought to be. To have it in any other way is, what do you base excellence on? Obviously, what you would base excellence on would be politics. Has anything excellent come out of politics recently? Like I'm saying, what do you think, the last 4,000 or 5,000 years? I would say no. And what that leads to is it leads to something that Tammy Bruce was talking about on Fox News today. In 1998, Forbes magazine discovered that a writer at the New Republic had, quote, fictionalized his reporting to improve upon reality. Ultimately, this young man named Stephen Glass became forever known as a fabulist for having made up scores of stories for a myriad of major magazines. Just made them up. Shamed and fired, he retreated from the literary world. A few years later, Jason Blair, a reporter at the New York Times, was fired when it was discovered he fabricated and plagiarized multiple stories. In the aftermath, the managing and executive directors or editors at the Times resigned. Both scandals rocked the news and journalism community, but what a difference 15 years and a threat to the political status quo make. Michael Wolff becomes the new international darling of the fabulous reportage with Fire and Fury inside the Trump White House. What is the problem with this book? Well, its own author says that the stuff in the book may not be true. He's the author and says this stuff in the book may not be true. But, you know, it's not about whether or not it matters from a truth standpoint. It could be fake, but still important. Excuse me? We're talking about railroading a president with some book that its own author says may not be true. We're talking about railroading a president, because it may be fake, but it's still important. Do I have something to say about that? What do you think? Yeah, of course I do. And that's going to be happening next. You stay right here. Don't go anyplace. You're listening to the Wells Report. This is the USA Radio Network. Back in a moment.
All right, man. Sounding good.
Thank you. Unbelievable. Okay. I'm sorry.
All right, man. Back in 1 minute.
Okay. Hey, I need to know what time Clive and Bundy is going to be on the air. Whether it's got to be 5:30 Pacific. Because we're going to be gone.
All right, here we go.
Yes, sir. Eight 844-927-6691 will get you through to the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. We are talking about a Democrat preponderance that is essentially driven by the mainstream media to disassociate, even disavow reality. We're talking about fire and fury inside the Trump White House. We're talking about fake but important. We're talking about the idea that there should be some sort of way of looking at a particular political candidate and saying, well, this must be true because this tells a political story that seems plausible. Essentially, it's allowing the decision making of everyone voting to be determined by salacious lying, by something other than reality. And this is being spoken of in actual circles. This is for real. These people are actually saying these things. A meritocracy, for example, is a tool of whiteness. Excuse me. A meritocracy is a tool of excellence. A meritocracy is how everyone has the same chance. If you create a better mousetrap, the world will beat a path to your door. And it doesn't make any difference where that door is. Whether it's in the richest manufacturing sector of the United States, whether it's in Palo Alto, California, the heart of the cyber world, or whether it's in some small little backwoods town someplace out in the middle of Nowhereville, Sweat Crack, Texas, for example. Sweat Crack, Texas, of course, for those people that don't know, is the cow examination glove capital of the world. Well, they got to be made somewhere. But so what we have Tammy Bruce, Fox News, talking about this ridiculous idea of saying that just plain concocted garbage should be used to determine not just the veracity, but the actual success or failure of a presidency. You know what this means? This means that half of American politics has completely lost their minds. Fire and fury inside the Trump White House says that there are whiny, gossipy aides who think the president is dumb and churlish. Ivanka Trump is a turncoat, but a dumb one. The book ends up as graffiti paying homage to every fabulous fantasy of a cosmopolitan smart set drowning in their fear and loathing of the president. Rushed to publication after its target complained it was chock full of falsehoods and untruths. We learn on page 10 of the prologue that it's chock full of not the truth. Mr. Wolf admits in this note he's not sure what's true and what isn't. He explains, being generous, that he's leaving it to the reader to decide, but also he confesses that settled on a version of events that I believe to be true. Here's a guy that would not be able to get this manuscript through a college writing course, any college writing course. He reiterated his version of the truth on Meet the Press. Asked if he regretted the errors, he didn't answer and instead insisted people should read the book, see if you don't feel like you're with me on that couch in the White House, and see if you don't feel alarmed. Yeah, because I'm lying to you. I'm settling on whatever version of the truth that I think is correct, and now I want to see if I can scare you to death with it. Who does this guy think he is? I mean, seriously. The facts and truth don't matter. We are essentially told, trust the fabulous to make you feel alarmed because feelings are what important. Just don't ask if anything's real. So why is Brian Williams, still relegated to the back bench? Why isn't he back running NBC Nightly News? Why is it? Because all he did was lie. I mean, goodness gracious. I have to say, standing there in New Orleans watching bodies float by is a lot more evocative than standing there waiting for somebody to come and take me to the news set so I could read the words somebody else wrote for me earlier today. Yeah, I get all that, but what about the concept of garbage in and garbage out? Also coming up in just a couple of seconds, Newt Gingrich has a few things to say, and there's the faint possibility, that the President of the United States may be speaking with Robert Mueller. I think that would be a huge mistake. I'll tell you why soon. This is the Wells Report.
All right, sir. Sound good?
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, no sweat.
So we're going to have the Newt Gingrich stuff coming up?
Yes,
Okay.
7:35 hours.
What?
7:35 hour time.
7:35 our time, so it's 8:35 Pacific Eastern time.
Yes.
Okay, all right, good.
People with East, well, I guess
There are people in the East Coast still. Thanks.
So you want me to have them Gingrich clips ready for this segment?
Yes.
Gotcha. Ready to go.
We're skipping around a little bit.
Oh, no sweat.
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Still staying where we are. How about that?
All right.
I like that. I like it. Wait a minute. We moved. Where do we go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23. All right.
All right, back in 1 minute. All right, back in 30 seconds.
Thank you very much.
And here we go in 10.
Okay. You are listening to the Wells Report. Our telephone number is 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. It's today's news, today's facts, today's commentary, and today's debate. For you, today's audience, join us. Our telephone number again is 844-927-6691. The Democrats are essentially grasping at straws. Earlier today, or actually yesterday, the possibility that Oprah Winfrey might throw them a life preserver and give them some kind of credible candidacy for the 2020 presidential campaign was something that a lot of people grabbed onto, and then, like the Democrats do, were sitting back going, wait a minute, maybe. American politics is very, very predictable if you expect people to do dumb stuff. I mean, really dumb stuff. Democrats now are increasingly embracing the political rhetoric that flirts with the impeachment of President Trump. This would be disastrous for the Democrat Party, forever branding them as an anti-American, anti-democratic party. An anti-democratic party. Even though they are indeed Democrats, they say. Many people ask me why I don't refer to their party as the Democratic Party, because, as we keep finding out, it simply isn't. It's an anti-American party at this particular moment. The Democrat Party, for whatever reason, believes that the First Amendment of the Constitution is wrong. The Second Amendment of the Constitution is wrong. The Fourth Amendment is in the way. The Fifth Amendment is ridiculous. As a matter of fact, these great rights given to us by our Creator, representing the only true reality in American government, are being challenged insofar as the Democrats are now challenging reality itself. Fake, but plausible. Fake, but important. What do you mean fake, but important? What are you talking about? And now the Democrats are actually thinking about running on an entire platform of elect us and we will impeach the President of the United States. These, by the way, are the same people that keep calling anybody doing politics any other way besides their way a banana republic political organization. Okay. Yeah. The American political party that is clearly the party of the kangaroo court now seeks to express that ideology by removing a duly elected president. A duly elected president is nothing more than an embarrassing coup from the left. It's ridiculous. According to the Democrat base, the Democrats see encouragement. A petition with 4 million signatures demanding Trump's impeachment, and a survey showing 70% of Democrats backing at least hearings on the matter could nudge Democrats further into the impeachment camp in the new year. Have you ever wanted to see Americans pick up their weapons and take to the streets? That is exactly what would happen if the Democrats get their wish here. What would happen after they started their impeachment proceedings in the House of Representatives would be virtually every American in the country would take their weaponry and head to Washington, D.C. I would be among them. This book has essentially emboldened Trump's critics and these fringe lunatic nincompoops in the Democrat Party that believe, hey, if if you don't like the way an election turned out, you don't have to come up with something better from a policy standpoint. All you got to do is just convince a bunch of people to impeach whoever it is that offends you, remove them from office, and call it a day. The only problem with that is it'd start the second American Revolution. And the Democrats would be the bad guys. The Democrats would be relegated to the same space and time and context as the American Communist Party, the American Nazi Party, and all of the rest of these anti-freedom, anti-liberty, anti-capitalist endeavor public political parties that see nothing more than the demise of the United States as their main goal. And that's where these people are. Democrats have to win 24 House seats and 2 Senate seats to regain control of the Congress in 2018. I don't think that's going to happen, even with Mitch McConnell's help in the Senate. And I'm reasonably sure that 24 House seats is not something that's going to happen in the House of Representatives either. Neil Soroka, president for Democracy of America, or Democracy for America, a liberal activist group that endorses and raises money for Democrat candidates, claimed the impeachment push has public support. You are dreaming. Democrats should run on an all-inclusive populist agenda of free college and family paid leave, but shouldn't shy away from supporting impeachment. Millions of people around the country support impeaching the president. Democrat candidates in deep blue districts can and should be for impeachment. It would be politically stupid for any Democrat to come out against impeachment. Well, you know what that means? That means that cooler heads need to prevail beginning just about right now. You bring this up, it'll be the end of the Democrat Party. Do you agree? 844-927-6691. If you don't agree, why don't you think it would bring about the end of the Democrat Party? Because clearly it's not a democracy party. Clearly it is not. Eight 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. Last month, 58 House Democrats voted to bring an impeachment resolution up for debate. While party leadership publicly shunned the idea, Democrats recently tapped Representative Gerald Nadler of New York. Set to be ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, replacing disgraced ex-Representative John Conyers. Washington Post columnist Paul Kane described the choice as, well, they're readying themselves for battle with President Trump that could end up with impeachment proceedings. No. That is not going to happen. That is the ultimate. That's the ultimate in using federal authority to contravene the will of the American people. I just can't believe that it would happen. I'm almost positive it won't. And I believe that if it did happen, what would happen next would make the Million Man March look like a beer bust on some SEC football game about to take place. It's ridiculous. And we need to stop this mess. Impeaching a sitting president duly elected is not, repeat, not a meaningful and serious set of policies and understandings and the intelligentsia of a serious political party. Smart Democrats know it's a dumb idea. Yeah, they better. They better know it's a dumb idea. There are other dumb ideas, but that one is the one that is leading the league at this particular moment. You cannot impeach a properly elected president, who, by the way, has not committed any high crimes or misdemeanors. This does, however, lead to one inexorable conclusion. High crimes and misdemeanors, presidential misconduct, that would be sufficient enough to get him removed from office. Those things need to be very, very carefully considered. They need to be based on reality, and they don't need to be based on stupidity. They don't need to be based on some crackpot idea that a president could be removed simply because we don't like him. How flipping stupid is that? So go ahead, Democrats, by all means. Jump all over that opportunity. Make impeachment of the president your 2018 campaign idea. And you see what happens. You go ahead and you look at your fake data coming from your fake news media. You go ahead and do what those people tell you to do. I'll tell you what's going to happen to you. What's going to happen to you is you are going to absolutely misjudge the American people again. You are going to realize only when it's too late that the people of the United States universally reject politics as usual and no better practitioner of the art than the Democrat Party. It's unbelievable. I keep reading this and I keep going, will Democrats actually run on impeachment? Fire and fury and fire and fury, the story of the Trump presidency, when there's nothing in the book about the presidency at all. It's about the campaign. They keep trying to stoke their own courage. Oh, yeah, we can impeach this president. Oh, sure we can. In November, Representative Steve Cohen of Tennessee, he's a Democrat, and 4 other Democrats, introduced 5 articles of impeachment against Trump. Representative Brad Sherman of California, Al Green of Texas were first to introduce an impeachment resolution in July, alleging obstruction of justice in Russia in the Russian investigation. There was no obstruction of justice. And even if there was obstruction of justice, talk to me about 33,000 missing emails. That's obstruction of justice. Brad Sherman, who's the Democrat from California, said this is a matter of constitutional principle, not politics. Members should look at the actions of a president and determine whether they believe he obstructed justice or committed other acts warranting impeachment. Talk of impeachment has already had an effect. Imagine how Trump would behave if he thought there was an absolute risk of impeachment. We need not wait until all the various investigations give us a complete catalog of all Trump's wrongdoing. See, we don't have to wait for the facts. We can just proceed. We can just proceed. We have an entire political party that has distanced itself, divorced itself, walked away from the actual truth and actual reality. And the American people, theoretically Democrats, are allowing them to get away with it. It is inexcusable. Inexcusable. And I'll be perfectly honest with you. I am true. I am absolutely truthful when I say that it's quite possible that this could lead to a blow up of certainly historic and national standards.
Right,
Oops.
Yeah.
That was an oopsie.
Sorry. No biggie.
Proportions was the word. Shit, I couldn't remember the word. Oh, well. Golly.
It's all good.
Yep.
All right, we got about 3 minutes.
Okay.
I'm back in 45 seconds. right, here we go, man.
Okay, I'm ready. Eight 844-927-6691. You're listening to the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Please call us. Take part in this broadcast. This was funny. Michael Goodwin is a columnist for the New York Daily News. He's very, very good. He said that that President Trump is turning out to be an enormously consequential presidency. And what ended up happening was the president deleted, well, actually, he actually tweeted a comment based on Michael Goodwin's assertion that the president is indeed creating a very consequential presidency for these United States. But when he wrote the original tweet, he said, the president is turning out to be an enormously consensual presidency. He is giving us a consensual presidency. And I laughed at it. I said, excuse me, consensual presidency. And then I started thinking about it. Insofar as we, the people of the United States, have seen fit to turn aside all basic ideas about politics of the presidency, going to a rank outsider, going to somebody who has not been elected dog catcher to be the president of the United States. To be able to do all of that, we have certainly been the people behind his presidency. In other words, we the people, not the Republican Party, not the Democrat Party, we the people of the United States are responsible for the president being the president. And in a very real way, yeah, that's consensual. I think that's interesting. He is turning out to be an enormously consensual presidency, so much so that there has never been a day that I wished Hillary Clinton were president. Not one. Indeed, as Trump's accomplishments accumulate, the mere thought of Clinton in the White House doubling down on Obama's failed policies washes away any doubts that America made the right choice. This was truly a change election. The changes Trump is bringing are far-reaching and necessary. That was the quote. And the president said, thank you, Michael Goodwin. Michael Goodwin at the New York Post.com. By the way, the president realized that he had put consensual instead of consequential. And then he went ahead and deleted the tweet and then put in consequential. Goodwin appears to retweet Trump's initial post, which is what I would have done, thanking the president on his Twitter feed above a box that said this tweet is unavailable before retweeting Trump's replacement version. Others on Twitter denied that they had consented to Trump's leadership, and a number included the hashtag stable genius when commenting on Trump's typo, referring to the president's series of weekend tweets proclaiming that he is sane. The president is indeed sane. Can we please move on from this ridiculous foolishness? Funny. It's consensual presidency. Could you say that President Obama's presidency was consensual? May have started out consensual, but was there a time when the President Obama, sort of just decided to start doing whatever it is that he felt like doing, regardless of the American people? Did that turn it into something besides a consensual presidency? Just asking. Just musing my way through Monday afternoon. You're listening to the Wells Report. This is the USA Radio Network. Back in just a moment.
right, sir. That's a wrap on hour 2. Sounded good there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I'm gonna run and get my drink, man, and I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Okie dokie.
All right, sir. We're back in a minute 15.
1 minute and 15 seconds.
That's right.
Okay.
All right, here we go in 10.
North to south, coast to coast. This is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. Thanks for being a part of our broadcast today. 844-927-6691. This got my attention. John Roberts reporting for Fox News. President Trump's lawyers are preparing for the possibility that special counsel Robert Mueller's team is about to ask to conduct an interview with the president himself as part of the Russia probe, this according to Fox News. Before I go any further with that, do not forget that coming up at 5:30 Pacific time, 8:30 Eastern time, Cliven Bundy will be joining Wayne Allen Root on the USA Radio Network. Make sure that you get a chance to hear this on this USA Radio Network station. You do not want to miss this. Breaking news today that the Bundys were all acquitted, and indeed acquitted of all charges with prejudice. And we'll have all the details for you coming up in moments on the USA Radio Network. And do not forget Wayne Allen Root's broadcast immediately following the Wells Report, because he will have Cliven Bundy joining us, telling us the story. Finally, someone in the American judicial system found a way to find freedom for an American citizen. And it is a great day for all of us. As I was saying, President Trump's lawyers preparing for the possibility that special counsel Robert Mueller's team is going to ask for the president to interview with them. There's been no official request by Mueller's office yet, but Trump's lawyers are anticipating that he may indeed request information from the president before winding down the investigation into Russia's attempted meddling in the 2016 election. According to sources, conversations with Mueller's team about an interview are in the early stages. It's still possible an interview will not take place. But the president's legal team is considering a number of possible options for such an interview, including an in-person interview with the president, written responses to questions submitted by Mueller's investigative team, or an affidavit signed by the president stating his position on the case. What do I think about this? I'll be more than happy to say so in just a couple of moments. In a statement to Fox News, Trump lawyer John Dowd would not comment on the legal team's communication with the special counsel's office. The White House does not comment on communications with the OSC out of respect for the OSC and its process. It's the Office of Special Counsel. The White House is continuing its full cooperation with the Office of Special Counsel in order to facilitate the earliest possible resolution. At Camp David over the weekend, President Trump suggested he's willing to speak with Mueller if asked. When asked by a reporter if he's committed to being interviewed by the special counsel. Yeah, the president said, just so you understand, there's been no collusion, there's been no crime. And in theory, everybody tells me I'm not under investigation. NBC News first reported the talks between president's lawyers and Mueller's team about an interview. I would, if I were in a position to offer the president some kind of advice on this particular issue, I would say, sir, do not do this interview. If indeed there were specific questions that were requested by the Office of the Special Counsel, Robert Mueller, I would consider suggesting the president may indeed answer those, but based on some of the closest possible work by his legal team. The first thing that came through my mind on this was setup. That's the first thing I saw. And it has basically to do with everything we've spoken about this afternoon insofar as the president's political opposition has worked to minimize both truth and reality itself. Fake but important. Watchwords of the day today. Based on those things, none of what Robert Mueller is investigating need to be harnessed to fact. They only need to be harnessed to supposition. Now, I don't know what's going on with Robert Mueller. Had this been 4 years ago, I would have said that Robert Mueller would take any investigation in as fair and an absolute professional way as possible, using every possible tool at his command to follow the evidence after this investigation to a logical belief and some kind of a logical conclusion. But then Robert Mueller, being named special counsel, immediately hires a whole bunch of Democrats to investigate a president of the United States who is reviled by the people investigating him, up to and including incredibly damaging and inflammatory emails being passed back and forth by members of the team and the FBI. Now, why would Robert Mueller do all of that? Why would he do that? I don't know. I don't know. And so I don't know what the purpose of this quote unquote investigation is. Let's also go back to something else. This is supposed collusion with the Russian government, some kind of investigation having to do with some kind of interference by Russia with the 2016 presidential election. If that's the case, why isn't Hillary Clinton a part of it? Why is this solely focused on the president of the United States? Why is this, quote, investigation, unquote, pointing only at the president and pointing only at the things that he did or did not do in this case? This started out with the candidates in his candidacy and his campaign, moved through the transition and into the presidency. Hillary Clinton, on the other hand, has measurable interactions with the Russian government. The president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, said, if I wanted to interfere with the presidential election, I would have given Hillary Clinton $175,000. So all I can say is that under these certain circumstances, the president would only say, yes, I believe that I am completely and totally innocent, and I believe that a fair investigation would actually exonerate me. And I would only say to the president, okay, is there the possibility that there would be a fair investigation? I don't think so, sir. I don't think this is fair. When it comes right down to it, what is a high crime and misdemeanor? Those aren't defined. Remember, the political opposition to the president is tying all of this Russian collusion into an impeachment proceeding. This in a dramatic way of tipping your political hand. Once again, this bespeaks another reason why Robert Mueller should be the last person the president should talk to. Now, make no mistake. If there's something that the president has done or not done, or if there's something, by all means, take whatever evidence you have, put it in front of a grand jury, and let the grand jury decide. Now, last week I saw an article describing the grand jury that is currently looking at all of this information that Robert Mueller has assembled. It was described as an organizational meeting of Black Lives Matter. Everyone on the federal grand jury, apparently, who's conducting an investigation of everything that Mueller is bringing them, every single one of those people except one are African American. Now, I want to make this very plain. I'm sure these are fair-minded people. But if the situation was reversed, if suddenly we go back to 2010, or 2009, and we're going back through all of the machinations involved in the 2008 presidential election. We go back through all of these things, and suddenly that there's some concern that maybe President Obama had made some kind of a deal before he should have. There was some sort of collusion or what have you. And what if the grand jury that was looking into President Obama were all white, except for one African American? And every single one of those people in the grand jury, say, for example, would, I don't know, be a member of their local Tea Party at home. Do you think that the mainstream media would have brought that up saying, this is a problem? Yeah, of course they would. But then again, who would have had the political guts to ascertain or undertake something along those lines with President Obama to begin with? Who would have been able to do that? Nobody. Certainly not John Boehner. The president of the United States is very sure he is innocent, but he is not sure, and no one can be sure, what he would be even charged with. We already know that collusion with the Russian government isn't a crime. We don't even know that there's been any kind of discussion whatsoever. The only person that we know that Donald Trump Jr. spoke with was a Russian lawyer who was Russian, but did not have any actual connection with the Russian government. The entire meeting was based on a fabricated premise. And none of it turned out to be real. That's the cornerstone of all of this. And it all comes down to, okay, well, there is this one little dossier. Yeah, that has been paid for not just by the DNC, not just by the RNC, but also by the FBI. Excuse me? I'm sorry. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the fairness of all of this. So, Mr. President, while I'm trying to wrap the fairness into this, I'll just have to say, please don't talk to Robert Mueller until you find out what's actually at stake. And we don't know that yet, do we? What are your thoughts? 844-927-6691, 844-927-6691. This is the Wells Report.
All right, man. Sounding good there.
Okay, thanks.
How's it going?
I'm good.
All right. All right, back in 1 minute.
One flipping minute.
All right, here we go in 10.
Okie dokie. Eight 844-927-6691 gets you through to the Wells Report. This came as a surprise to me. Monster hurricanes and a ferocious wildfire season led to the costliest year for national disasters on record in the U.S. in 2017. $306 billion in damage. Is that a real number? Not exactly. It's close, but it's not a real number. But what happened was certainly real. The U.S. endured 16 separate weather and climate disasters with losses that each exceeded $1 billion. Total costs of about $306 billion. That's a new record for the country. It broke the previous record set in 2005 when Hurricane Katrina and other disasters caused $250 billion in damage to the United States. Tragedy, last year's disasters killed 362 people in the United States, including Puerto Rico. NOAA climatologist Adam Smith said the death toll could increase based on information that continues to come in from Puerto Rico. It was also the most expensive hurricane season on record at $265 billion, the costliest wildfire season on record at $18 billion. Hurricane Harvey racked up total damage costs of $125 billion, second only to Hurricane Katrina in the 38-year period of record keeping for billion-dollar disasters. Hurricanes Maria and Irma totaled $90 billion and $50 billion in damages, respectively. Hurricane Maria now ranks as the third costliest weather and climate disaster on record for the nation, and Irma ranks as the fifth costliest. The announcement came at the annual meeting of the American Meteorological Society in Austin, Texas. As for temperatures, for the third consecutive year, every state across the contiguous U.S. and Alaska was warmer than average, of course. 5 states, Arizona, Georgia, New Mexico, North Carolina, and South Carolina, experienced their warmest year on record. 32 additional states, including Alaska, had annual temperatures that ranked among the 10 warmest on record. And of course, we don't know whether any of these temperatures are within the error range, but it's possible. It's possible. Still a lot of money and a lot of lives. You know, I was talking a couple of weeks ago about super freeways, ways of being able to evacuate America's great cities. We don't have those yet. We don't have those now. Houston is attempting to do what I have suggested, creating a way to get out of Houston, Texas. And Hurricane Harvey was a disaster for this state. But while we talk about all the things that we want to spend money on, and whether we have budgetary this and budgetary that, and whether we're spending enough money on our infrastructure, I assure you we are not. Because what we do need to do is we do need to find a way to get people to be able to get out of a major metropolitan area quickly. We don't have that. One of these days, that's going to matter. And I just don't see any real reason why we shouldn't at least talk about it. You cannot, under any circumstances, live in an area with 5 million of your closest friends. In the post 9/11 world, in an age where there are certain religious enemies that are procuring or have already procured nuclear weapons. You cannot live in an area like that. You cannot live in an era like that, I should have said, without taking reasonable steps to protect the citizenry, and we aren't there yet. We aren't. $307 billion in damages. Only 362 people killed. Can you imagine? That's the entire year in these big storms. I mean, I think that is incredibly good, even though it's 362 tragedies for families around the United States and Puerto Rico. All that being said, we can do better in this nation, and it is my sincere hope that we start working on doing better in this nation. You're listening to the Wells Reports, 844-927-6691. Back in just a moment.
All right, man, moving right along there.
Well, all righty then.
All right. Run to the restroom, man. I'll be right back.
Go right ahead. You want to do raw water, or you want to do the NHS, National Health System? Let's do something fun. Let's do water.
All right, we're back in 1 minute. Back in 1 minute, sir.
Hello. We have about a minute. Is that what you're saying?
Now
Actually,
about
30 seconds.
Yeah, about
Yeah. Okay.
All right, here we go in 10.
Eight 844-927-6691. 844-927-6691. Have you ever heard of giardiasis or giardiasis or giardiasis? It's called giardia. It's a nasty little thing. It's an intestinal infection marked by abdominal cramps, bloating, nausea, bouts of watery, Giardia infection is caused by a microscopic parasite that's found worldwide, especially in areas with poor sanitation and unsafe water. Giardiasis is one of the most common causes of waterborne disease in the United States. The parasites are typically found in backcountry streams and lakes, but also in municipal water supplies, swimming pools, whirlpools, spas, and wells, but not this particular wells. There is no giardiasis in John David wells. The symptoms, fatigue or malaise, I'm just going to say bad poo, and you'll have to just figure that out. Abdominal cramps and bloating, flatus, nausea, weight loss. Signs and symptoms of Giardia infection may last 2 to 6 weeks. In some people, they last longer or even recur. Call your doctor if you have any of these symptoms lasting more than a week, or if you become dehydrated. And make sure you tell your doctor that you may indeed be at risk for Giardia infection. And you're going, wait a minute. How would I know that I was at risk for Giardia infection? Giardiasis. Well, you might be living in an underdeveloped part of the United States. For example, I don't know, San Francisco. You might be shopping at your favorite grocery store, say Rainbow Grocery in San Francisco. You see, it's a co-op. It's in the Mission District. And they sell water. And you're going, John, what are you talking about? It is a very popular item. It's often out of stock. One recent evening, there was a glittering rack of this particular kind of water, glass orbs, containing 2.5 gallons of what is billed as raw water. Raw water. Unfiltered, untreated, unsterilized spring water. It's $36.99 per 2.5 gallons and $14.99 per refill if you bring back your glistening glass orb. Don't shake your head at me, man. I am reading the actual description, okay? A glistening glass orb, all right? $36.99 for 2.5 gallons of water. How does it taste? Well, I'm glad you asked. It has a vaguely mild sweetness, a nice, smooth mouthfeel. Nothing overwhelms the flavor profile. This, according to Kevin Freeman, a shift manager at the store. He's selling water that doesn't overwhelm the flavor profile, that has a nice, smooth mouthfeel. Really? Bottled water is controversial, he says. We've curtailed our water selection, but this is totally outside that whole realm. Yeah. You see, people on the West Coast and other pockets around the country, they're looking to get off of the water grid. Live Water in Oregon, Tourmaline Spring in Maine, they've emerged in the last few years to deliver untreated water on demand. An Arizona company, Zero Mass Water, actually installs systems allowing people to collect water directly from the atmosphere around your home. That's right. Rainwater. And I know you're asking, what if birds fly over? Shush. Just move on. They've begun taking orders from across the United States. So far, Live Water and Tourmaline Spring and Zero Mass Water, Zero Mass Water has raised $24 million in venture capital. What's interesting, though, is that in most municipalities, you're not allowed to collect drink rainwater. There's a reason why. It's stupid. I'll tell you later. At Liquid Eden, this is a water store that opened in San Diego 3 years ago. They've got a variety of options, including fluoride-free, chlorine-free, and a mineral electrolyte alkaline drinking water that goes for $2.50 a gallon. Oh my. Trisha Culme, Trisha Culme, the owner, says the shop sells 900 gallons of water a day. Sales have doubled every year as water consciousness is growing. What adherents share is a wariness of tap water, particularly the fluoride added to it and the lead pipes that some of it passes through. They contend that the wrong kind of filtration removes beneficial minerals. What? Even traditional bottled spring water is treated with ultraviolet light or ozone gas and passed through filters to remove algae. They say it kills healthful bacteria, probiotics, in the raw water parlance. Giardia is an intestinal infection marked by abdominal cramps, bloating. That's what they're taking out of the water. Healthful bacteria, probiotics. Sure they are. The quest for pure water is hardly new. People have been drinking from natural springs, collecting rainwater from time immemorial. The crusade against adding fluoride to public water began in the 1950s and 50s among Americans who saw danger in the protective measures that have been adopted over decades to protect the populace from disease and contamination. Indeed, one of the greatest movies ever, by Stanley Kubrick, Dr. Strangelove, talked about the precious essence of our absolutely necessary bodily fluids. Off-the-grid water has become the more fringe phenomenon that it once was. Well, yeah. Actually, it's become more than the fringe phenomenon it once was, with sophisticated marketing, cultural cachet, millions of dollars in funding, influential supporters from Silicon Valley, none of which have come down with Giardia yet, but they will. One recent morning in the hills of Berkeley, California, Cody Friesen, a founder and chief executive of Zero Mass Water, was inspecting water collection panels he had installed for his investor, Skip Battle, a longtime tech leader who now sits on the boards of LinkedIn, Netflix, and OpenTable. The system, called Source, which retails for $4,500, including installation, draws moisture from the air. It filters it, produce it. Why does it filter it? You're not getting essential probiotics. It produces 10 liters of water a day, storing 60 liters. The goal, Mr. Friesen said, is to make water that's, quote, ultra high quality and secure, totally disconnected from all infrastructure. Mr. Friesen goes on to say this. Just take a breath of air. Take a deep breath. No matter how wealthy or poor you are, you can take a breath and own that air that you breathe. And yet water, the government brings it to you. Why is there fluoride in drinking water? Well, when I was growing up in the 60s in Brevard, North Carolina, the Kennedy family realized that North Carolina had a problem, and most places in the Appalachian Valley, the Appalachian Mountains, had problems with people's teeth. Their teeth were rotting out of their heads. Was it because they were constantly eating sugar and sugary things and so on and so forth? No. It's because they were drinking pure water without a whole lot of minerals in them. These minerals fill up the lattice work that are what your teeth are actually before they fill up with all these minerals. You see, your teeth function as a special kind of when you're a baby, your teeth function kind of as a filter. And the minerals that are in the drinking water that you drink lodge in these little lattice works and create white, healthy, strong teeth based on minerals that you happen to be ingesting. Now, say, for example, you live in North Carolina or anywhere else in Appalachia. It's not Appalachia, it's Appalachia. If you're living in those areas, there's no minerals in the water. It's this pure water that everybody's talking about here that won't let your teeth continue to build and strengthen themselves, which is what fluoride in the water does. You see, fluoride is a mineral that works beautifully for this. Not only did I have fluoridated drinking water in North Carolina, thanks to the Kennedy family, but we also got one little salt pill every day filled with fluoride, every single day. And you're saying to yourself, obviously, your brain is rotted. This is why you're a talk show host. No, my brain is not rotted. It may indeed be filled with some minerals. There are people that have from time to time said, John David, you've got rocks in your head. Well, maybe. But that being said, I was 38 years old before I had my first cavity. 38. I haven't had any real problems with my teeth except for the one that I knocked out playing baseball. My teeth have been as strong and hard and so on and so forth as they could possibly be. And no, the communists have not taken over my body based on the fluoride that I've ingested. I'm still okay. I want to make something very, very plain and clear to you. I know a little bit about this because I will tell you that the water in the streams in the Blue Ridge Mountains where I used to play when I was a kid was sweet and delicious and cold and would not contribute anything to your teeth that would keep them from rotting out of your head by the time you were 20. These people are taking you off the water grid because you're dumb enough to believe them. Don't be dumb enough to believe them. Do not leave the water grid. Okay? There are lots of countries that leave the water grid. You read about them all the time. They're the people that have this sudden spring up of plague or giardia or any number of other horrific diseases that leave you with bloating gas pockets. And who wants that? No one. Just do yourself a favor. Drink the water the government brings you. You'll be happy you did.
All right, man, that was a good one.
You like that?
Yeah, that was a good one. What was the thing called again? A glass orb.
Orb. A glistening glass orb. A glistening glass orb.
It better be pretty nice for $40 for 2 gallons.
2.5 gallons.
Yeah.
Get the story straight.
Yeah. It better be pretty nice.
Oh, God, that's funny shit. Ah, makes me laugh. Makes me laugh my buttocks off. There. And now, the flatulent of the United States. That's my pen. Oh, God. Let's see here. Helicopter, I don't have to watch TV show, but you work in the industry. Let's see. I enjoy TV shows and movies, but I don't take any of it as gospel. It's entertainment. Waiting for the great earthquake to shove the whole state into the ocean. Random, that's not the way that works. The Pacific plate is going over the top of the continental plate, not the other way around. You won't ever, no. California will actually move closer to Denver. Waiting for the great earthquake. Do we care about anything in California, really? Well, yeah, and I'll tell you why. That's a good question. That's a good question. Yes, there is a reason why you care. I will tell you later. Hum diddle doodle daddle diddle doodle doo. I think, by the way, I think California has the 8th biggest economy in the world. It did have the 6th largest economy in the world, but it was a while back. Oh, that's not going to give me that information. I know what you're reading. Hate. I know what you're reading, but actually, I think it's 8th now. Oh, is it the 6th? Where's your what's your source? Because I read this a while back. What is your Looney Tunes, the theme song? Yes. Seriously, what is your hate? Tell me what your source is. Been listening while working. Good. I'm glad you're here and listening while working. It's awesome. Thank you. Let's see.
We're back in 30 seconds.
Okay. President Trump today. Let's see here. Hey, where's the national championship today? Where's the game being played? What?
All right, here we go.
Eight 844-927-6691. People were asking in the chat room where we do a video stream of the show. It's on Facebook Live events, but it's also a Google Hangout. Just search for it, The Wells Report. You'll find it. Somebody said, why is it that we care about what's going on in California? Remember what happened in California. California's gift to the United States was making it impossible for people to smoke cigarettes in public. It started with a small, little bitty, teeny weeny, itsy bitsy little section in a restaurant somewhere in Southern California, and turned into a behemoth of government abuse that did indeed lead to you not being able to smoke in public anywhere. Just saying. Thought you'd like to know. So yeah, you care about what happens in California because sooner or later somebody's going to show up wherever it is that you're living and saying, you know what you ought to do? You ought to get off the water grid. The government is responsible for bringing you water, and you know what that means. Yeah, that means it's probably pretty good for you and doesn't screw your life up. Let me tell you about these 2.5-gallon glistening glass orbs. No, I don't think so. The president of the United States spoke with the farmers in Tennessee today, but then he's going to meet up with Herschel Walker, former football star from Georgia, by the way. He is going to fly to Atlanta, and he is going to watch the national championship football game between the Alabama Crimson Tide and those very aforementioned Georgia Bulldogs. However, the Atlanta chapter of the NAACP is planning to protest Donald Trump being there. Great. The organization posted to its Facebook page yesterday evening asking fans to wave white towels during the game, which Trump plans to attend. It's also suggested fans bring anti-Trump signs and wear white to mock the snowflake label Trump supporters use to describe their opponents. Okay. The contest will take place at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Doug Chris of CNN noted that the group Refuse Fascism ATL also plans on protesting, staging a Take a Knee Against Trump demonstration outside the CNN headquarters in Atlanta. Well, you know that CNN will cover that. Yeah. NFL players who knelt during the national anthem found themselves in Trump's crosshairs earlier this season. He said at a rally that league owners should, quote, get that son of a gun off the field right now, unquote, if a player knelt during the anthem. I kind of agree. Just saying. All right, then. So what's happening? An amazing strike for freedom today in the United States of America. It centers around a guy named Cliven Bundy. Cliven Bundy and his sons and friends were acquitted today by a federal judge who threw away those charges against them for essentially grazing their cattle on public land. It was very, very good that they did that. Cliven Bundy will join Wayne Allen Root at 8:30 Central Time, 8:35 Central Time, on all of our USA Radio Network stations. Don't miss it. The executive producer of the Wells Report is the Philip Brown. I am John David Wells. Want to thank our studio coordinator, Mr. Mike Hawkins. Thank you as well for listening to this edition of the Wells Report. Listen for Bundy on Wayne Allen Root next.
Good show today.
Why, thank you.
Hey, man. Starting off the week, getting back on good foot.
Yeah, baby. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, man. We'll see you back tomorrow.
I will look forward to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Take care.
Bye.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay. All right, then. Let's see here. I can get rid of that. That. I can look at that. And I can look at this. Hoodle-doo, boodle-doo, boodle-dee-doo. Boodle-doo, boop, boop, boop. Oops. Why am I whistling that song? Gary Woods mentioned me in a comment. Okay. Okay. All right, my friends. I think that's about it. That's about it. God's blessings on all y'all. Take good care now.